replace and rebuild. Okay, replace and rebuild. You can see here you have an legacy or a traditional setup, load balancer, web server, app, and database. So here it is totally here, unlike the previous setup, you are actually replace or rebuilding it. Either you are replacing it, the existing web server, you are replacing with the app engine. Here you can see app engine. Web server is replacing with the app engine. If it is app engine, you can have load balancer, that is optional. If you want, you can have, or if it is in one region, you can avoid that also. And app server, instead of app server, it is see you. It's not that one is actually totally diverting, replacing with something else. Maybe something you will skip also, like you can avoid also. See, you have an application. You are rebuilding that application in Google Cloud Platform. So maybe there is no connection itself not required. This web server code, you are getting that code and using that code from using that code and creating app engine. We already know what app engine is, right? And app server, maybe again you are replacing with something. Then data processing, you are using many additional things along with not only the structure, you are totally changing the structure. That is replace or rebuild. Okay, no connectivity or something is not really required. You can otherwise also you can do it in this case because you're getting code and rebuilding it. Only database you may need to migrate it here. All right. That is another way of doing it. You are totally getting rid of the traditional technology. And another thing is like, okay, you have a code, the same setup is here. And web server, you can migrate totally into Kubernetes or Cloud Run, all these things. All these are comes under replace or rebuild. If you are using any serverless service that will come under replace or rebuild. Okay. These are the different approaches. And once we set up everything, or before we start the migration, okay, let's start with the phase one. First is like you have a customer, you're working for an organization and you're helping your customer to do the migration. Here, phase one, assess the workload to be migrated. This is a very important phase. Very important phase is you're actually understanding this application. Okay, I'm talking about one application. When it comes to 100, that is a different. Again, process is same, but it's in a larger scale. Assess the workload means taking inventory and catalog of the application. Experiment and design proof of concept test. See, first you need to understand that application, how big, how many users. Like mostly, this is the area I said that every organization they do it in their own way. For example, they may manually take a checklist like how big the application is, what all the components involved, how many users it connect, how many application, how many other application it connect, like some input incoming connection and outgoing connection, how many other application it connect to this one, and that kind of dependency, like plenty of things are there. Okay, like that is something. This is where um, the importance of architect comes into the picture. Okay, so what all this checklist creation, all these are manual tasks. You cannot really have a standard checklist and approach. Okay, first you need to understand it's after plenty of discussion with your application team and your customer, this will be ready, like inventory of your application, and you will make a standard checklist from the customer end, and that will vary on different customers. Okay. So mostly this is complex in the very large organization. Why it is complex? Because they will be using 20, 30-year application, old applications, legacy technologies. And another thing is The person who set up the application will not be there in the organization anymore. Many questions, your questions may not get answered. The existing team may not be knowing about few things like very core idea means some specific question and all will not get any answer also because maybe the person itself won't be there like how it is set up, how the connectivity, many common things will be answered, but some specific exclusive thing may not get answered. So all these are challenges here, taking inventory and experiment and design the proof of concept. It is if you are doing lift and shift, then proof of concept, like once set everything is set up, you can do some test migration and all, test steps and all these things. You can show to the customer this is how it is going to be, something like that. Calculate the TCO, total cost of ownership. This you can do it with the calculator, the GCP pricing calculator I had shown, right? You can just almost you can calculate how much CPU and memory is required. Um, Choose which workload to migrate first. See, all these are some general steps. Okay, this will vary from organization to organization. When it comes to migration, it is going to be a large team. Your area will be one thing in this. Okay, maybe a separate team will do the assessment and pass that because one team or one person cannot do whole task. Maybe in the migration team itself, there will be separate entity, like one team will do assessment, like I have done like that. So this assessment team, they will submit their report to the execution team who is executing. Maybe designing, there will be separate team. So I have worked on execution team plus later designing team. Like what designing team does, we'll collect this report. We will create a diagram. This is how these kind of diagram we will create it. Okay, from this is on premises and this is how it is going to be changing, and what all the things will change, what all the things will additional add, all these things we will only design and pass to the execution team. And we have after passing, then we don't know whether migration is happening or not because we don't have any other sync. Many large organization, they will make the concepts like that because once you pass, you will send for the approval, your job is done. You don't know who's migrating, whether it's failed or whether it's successful, whatever and all. We don't need to be worried about. So like that, there will be separating. So initially, once you learn which team you are in, depends on that. Your task will be you. Most most of the cases in large organization, you won't be doing in end to end. But if it is a small organization, you will be doing end to end. I've done end to end also, and I have worked in one specific exclusive teams. So you don't need to worry about too much about it because it's once you get into it, it's like monotonous. Rest, you will be repeating the same stuff again. But initially, it will be very interesting as well. Plan the foundation. Step two, once your assessment, inventory, and all this design and everything is ready, plan the foundation. Design resource organization hierarchy in Google Cloud. Okay, so first time you are setting up in Google Cloud. So organization hierarchy, as I mentioned, IAM is very important, and the designing this hierarchy is too important because what based on whether it's based on departments or all these decision making is very important. You need to make the decision and you need to explain to the customer and convince the customer also. Not convince, you need to take the additional input from customer. This is how you need to explain and understand the customer because first thing is customer may not be knowing about Google Cloud. That is the first thing. Technically, maybe you will be dealing with a very higher level manager. That person may not be technical. So you need to explain this and make them understand this is how it works, and you can divide all the resources accordingly. So you can go ahead like you need to make this organization hierarchy. Plan for additional security. Like initially itself, when you are setting up that hierarchy, landing zone, all these things, then You need to add all the security monitoring, all these things you need to before migration. You need to set up all these things in your destination, your Google Cloud. Plan your migration team. Then deploy the workload, migrate data. First thing, mostly you will be migrating the data if you have a database of if you have large amount of data because it's a time-taking concept. Okay, you are migrating huge amount of data of that particular application. So normally one application wise the migration will happen at a time. One application, two application depends on how big your team is. In that perspective, migration will happen. Okay, migrate data of that only that application. Then customer consider cost, time, offline versus online transfer, then deploy the application. Add the possible automation like Ansible, Chef, Puppet, etc. This is depends on what all the tools they are using already. Okay, these automation tools. Automate build and deployment using Jenkins, SonarQube, Cloud Build, all these things, all these tools. You can use it. The code level. Implement a Terraform or a deployment manager. Deployment manager we already learned, right? Use Terraform. Mostly Terraform will be used in every large organization. After migrating, optimize your environment. Ensure the login monitoring, everything is in place. Reduce the overhead by preferring managed services instead of normal instance. Go with instance group, serverless, etc. Optimize cost using auto scaling. Okay.